Good afternoon, everybody. This is Captain Endo1 for the Dark Star Strategist. Today I'm doing a brief little tutorial on the Devore and Latinum mining at its finest. So we've talked a little bit about how to get it during the board tutorial, and you can use it getting these special tokens you can apply towards places like Torrecedra and other locations. But I'm going to talk in this video a little bit more about the Devore as a ship and Latinum mining in general. So first of all, the ship itself. This is the Devore. It is accessible through several ways. During the weekly Latinum event, you can purchase it if you so choose. It is also available. You can get blueprints every 30 days with the loyalty tokens. So as you do as you do all the dailies every day, if you do that 30 days straight, you will get an additional, at least at the level of Mat 10, and I believe that's consistent across the board, 10 Devore blueprints, and you can build a Devore that way. Totally up to you how you approach it, but if you're going to go Latinum mining, to me, it's mostly the tool that you get any use out of. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here, Latinum mining itself. Latinum mining, the amount you get per mine is wholly dependent upon the tier your Devore is at. So if you do not have a Devore unlocked, it is basically stuck at the tier 1 level, which means you won't have to contribute as much raw Latinum, but on the flip side, you won't get nearly as much rewards, and the rewards come in forms of Latinum itself and upgradable parts which are called Devore parts, which you can use towards upgrading the Devore itself. And that's how you can build a pretty good Latinum pool. Now, a little word about the Devore itself. When you first get it, you'll notice two very consistent things about it. You'll notice that the protected cargo is pretty limited. You can see mine's up to about 21k. That's a pretty drastic increase, and that's including officers. Nowhere near comparable to what you see on a Horizon or a faction trader. But it also mines very quickly, you'll notice. So it's something that goes over protected cargo rather quickly. Decent cargo capacity, again, nothing comparable to your normal traders. And the other thing is your warp range. Mine is currently 33, so it allows me to go much farther and go out into systems that are a little deeper space than most of you when you first get it. Like Vendor is my current thing, and the reason I go there is the funny thing about Latinum mines, they mine at rates dependent upon how deep warp they are. So this one here in Vendor that I usually mine is 7,626, whereas if I go to a lower system like Gradientes and try to mine one there, you can see it's down to 5,637. What I recommend for people when they first start out mining, before you finally get to the point where you can reach these deeper space systems, because obviously quicker mining rate means more gathered per day, is I would look for one of the 3 faction space systems that have Latinum available right next to your base. So that's Roboton out in Romulan space. You can place your base somewhere and try to find a free Latinum mine. Usually you want to park your base right next to an open one if you can find one. And none here right now, but just as an example, there is also in Klingon space, there's Tullius. It's very common. A lot of people out there do their mining. And you can do this at tier 1. You can start mining right away. You just have to make sure you monitor protected cargo because it goes over very quickly. And up in Fed space, you also have Sinister. So you can park in Sinister and start mining on one of the local mines. And you'll see some people, and like here's an example in Sinister, there's an open one. So if someone were to move here right now, they could grab that mine. But a lot of people do mine with their faction traders. The funny thing about them, you can see in comparison to the Devore itself, this is at 6,000. It is at this state of the game, and this is a tier 5 cavort, does not even get a 10th of the rate of a Devore. So over time, it's more than likely it's kind of a wasted resource to use one of your faction miners or your horizon around it because it just doesn't get the return on investment you would normally with your Devore. So when you do the Devore, you'll go to the space, you'll let it sit maybe an hour, maybe two, depending on your setup, and then just let it mine. Now, officer setup, this is the one I use. It currently uses what's called Jokin for protected cargo increase. That's based on his leader ability. And then I also have the Borg, which is, I forget his name, but he has a protected cargo increase as one of his officer abilities. And then I just brought in auto from the augments to help increase the firewall protection that Joaquin uses. And that gets me a protected cargo rate of 21,000. I would not be anywhere near there. The mining bonus, I mean, very significant, and it'll increase with the tier. So as you tier the ship up, you will get an increase in mining rate, and you will have an increase in protected cargo capacity, and you'll be able to refine more. So you'll be able to get more Latinum. Highly recommend tiering the Devore. These Latinum rushes happen pretty much every Monday, so you want to stay on top of this as much as you can. And that's just up to you. I mean, you can also go out and you can just look through the various systems that are out there. You'll get very familiar with them. And you can scan people to see if they have if they're overprotected cargo. Like, we wouldn't necessarily hit him. This is one of our allies. But we can take a look at him, check to see if there's anything in the rewards box. Nope, move on. If it's an ally, move on anyway. But you can keep looking around there. Evidently, there's people who are probably out there to start to do some attacking on some folks, but there's just not that many people, and most of them are in their faction traders, so they're not going to be overprotected cargo very quickly. But on the flip side, they're also just not going to mine very quickly either. So you can just look through it, and if you don't mind dropping your bubble, you can go ahead and just seek these guys out, and if you finally see a Latinum symbol under one of their Devores, you can go ahead and loot them for it. That's an option that's available to you. And right now I just don't see that many, and most people know that the Devore has a very small amount of protected cargo, so mostly they're going to try to avoid going over protected cargo if they're fairly active. If they're not active, they may let it get away from them. You'll start to see them. And I'm just trying to find an example. I'm not even going to go hit one, but of someone who may have let themselves go over. But I'm not really finding too many right now. And for good reason. I mean, you're not trying to contribute to the other players, so you go ahead and you dump your cargo and move on. Maybe Zane's not even on the mine, but yeah, you can just keep scanning around, look for one that has rewards in there, and some of them, if they get distracted, they can go quite a bit over. So I actually had this happen myself today, earlier. DMFL as Gaggle noticed I had gotten a little over. I was working at the time, didn't really pay attention to that fact that I was almost 30,000 Latinum here, so he got about 9,000 takeaway. That's a pretty good haul. So good for him. Happy to be donate to the community, whatever. But those are some ways you can gather Latinum. Totally up to you which way you approach you take. Obviously, if you hit more people will be out to hit you. But it's kind of an accepted practice. People hit OPC, Latinum miners, and you just get over it. I mean, most Latinum mines are not super sparse except during Latinum rushes, and then it actually rewards you for mining. So you just kind of have to. It's like your shield. You either have good, responsible caring over what the status is of your protected cargo on your Latin miner in your bubble, or someone's going to hit you for it, and that's just something you got to accept. If you let it happen, it's pretty much on you. It's kind of the same as the Shield of Sure mentality. So, totally up to you. I do recommend still getting the Devore. These Latinum rushes do have some pretty good returns on their investment um, when they do happen, and this also contributes to other mining events as well. So having one in your hip pocket, and Latinum is useful for so many things. It can speed up your progress in certain things. It can be used to replace any of your RSS. So if you're short on par steel, like I am right now, and I want to get something with par steel, I can augment that with some Latinum, or same thing as titanium or dilithium. And it's just nice to have a good stockpile ready just in case the situations. And if worse comes to worse, you can even just donate it. I mean, there's usually a ways you can contribute Latinum as well. I'm going to go ahead and throw one in there just to be a good guy. Help with the little event here that we're running that's in rewards donations, although I've actually completed mine for the day. But those are just some ways you can make use of all the Latinum you get here. Again, highly recommend you at least look into getting the Devore either through the 30-day loyalty drops. If you have it already, use it, build it. The higher it is, the better it'll be for you. The more protected cargo it'll have, the quicker it'll mine, and you'll be able to hit bigger thresholds quicker. So all those are advantages, and you'll be able to warp to systems that have a better return on investment as well. Lots of reasons to keep working on the Devore and use Latinum mining. I cannot emphasize enough that it's important that you at least get into the habit of at least getting out there, because especially if you're missing out on the mining rush, the Latinum rushes and things like that, you're going to fall behind the power curve in general. So I recommend you just take some time, look into it, try to learn how the ropes, and get some Latinum. I mean, if you either gobble it up from other players or get some yourself, both are valid ways to approach it. Any questions, please reach out in Discord or in game chat. This is Captain Endo 1 for Dark Star Strategist signing out.